Hello? Ooh, woo? Hello? Woo? Oh, whoa? Pizza? You know what that means? Oh, fuck, I actually forgot to launch Firebot. Hopefully it works, because usually it makes me launch Firebot before I launch OBS. And it would suck to have to restart the stream immediately. Here's my G Fuel, guys. Oh, I put the U up instead of the ring. That's pretty funny. Alright. Fuck. Overly running, but nothing connected. Well, bye! Oh, I forgot to disable that, actually. You actually.
Hey, man.
Zerg here.
Zerg? Here? Well, Commander, I'll be seeing you.
What's up, RimTech? Check out all my new buttons. Bye. What's up, Imperator? Welcome, dude. Welcome to my, my G Fuel stream. Alright, we got an AI to make. Connor heard that there was some Zerg here and some gameplay here. Well, there isn't any of either yet, because I don't have any Zerg here and the map isn't functional. So, sorry, Connor, you were lied to. I guess you were playing the shifters instead, man. What a shame. Worth losing all your sparks? Dude, you got... If you're not... Listen, if your AI script is not multi-running monstercatplaylist.com/mixer... You're having a rough time of it, man. Alright, so I am going to write the task list for this AI and this AI alone. We're going to modularly focus on writing this particular AI, this ally. Whatever color this is. This colored man. What are we at? 34? You know what that means? It's electric blue, baby! Alright, let me find my task list section. I closed it. So I don't even have anything. Okay, first strike. Task list. Yeah, you might say so, but you know what? It's electrifying. So, you actually. It's DEFCON 1. Don't say. Dude, I watched DK play the last mission of the Primal Zerg here campaign, and that fucking reverse shit, you weren't kidding about that one, RimTech. That is some stuff, man. That is... I pity anyone who has played that map at all long enough to see that transmission about Immortal Reavers. The idea that you are just hemmed in, you can't fucking do anything. Yeah, I did see that, where you sent me that fucking... Didn't I respond to it? Maybe I didn't. Maybe I just laughed at my ass off and then went to bed or something. That would have been an appropriate response. Electric blue. This is single player, right? Yes. Art anus. Oh, okay. Thanks for letting me know. I totally forgot anyways. Spark economy not on point. You're broke. Listen, dude. What do you want? I'll give you one free one. You just... You tell me what it is and I'll do it. Not you, RimTech. Of course.
Butter! 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 Butter!
That's going to have like a butter explosion graphic eventually, along with the sound. I'll just like get a GIF of like a bunch of them blowing up, and add that sound to it. Yeah, I know. So I was actually thinking we're at the max cap for mobile and tablet, and
it's over.
So we're at max capacity right now. We could fit like 2 more into the desktop, but we can't fit any more at a mobile or tablet. Not that many people that use it here. I think RoomTech does, but well, maybe a couple of people do and they just don't mention it. So I am going to separate these into categories. I was thinking that one of them would be Sonic, one of them would be miscellaneous, which would be like for the channel related stuff, which is like the cause, the chimp outs, you know, shit that's related to me, Banana. And then there'd be like StarCraft or RTS related stuff, which would be N and Shikabam, Zerg here, Acknowledged, any of this stuff. No, I don't think so. You go back here right now and undo that. Fucking Control Z on that one, buddy. Oh, they overlap. Let me take a look. Well, it would be nice if it loaded my fucking page, but you know what I'm saying? Fuck yeah, you do. What the fuck is this? Which ones don't you see? Take this. Don't say that. Play Warcraft 3? That's Mesk's laugh, dude. Pretty soon, Impurity. We might be doing some today, actually, believe it or not. Because after I write an AI for this, I'm moving on. At least I'll write at least some of one AI. So the pizza one is RIP. I should probably change the graphics so that it's not white. And then we have Brain Crush is the one above that, which allows Pronogo to crush someone's brain. I'm sure you can think of that one. So those two I definitely need to fix. I should fix Buy as well. I can use the black hand one instead of the white hand one, and I'll do the same for Be Seeing You, which probably needs to be a little taller. What's Fank? Fank is a really stupid inside joke. So this is like 6 degrees of insanity. In League of Legends, there's a champion called Graves, which is that guy's portrait. So you have like different skins. I cropped out heads of his different skins. And we called him Fank, Patrick and I. I don't remember why. It wasn't like a typo of Frank, which is what you would think, which is not related to his name at all. His name is Malcolm. Malcolm Graves is what I remember. And so that's why that's up. Hey, what's up, Pylon Master? Welcome. So that's the explanation as to why his head is on Mixplay as Fank. But the sound effect is just a man screaming. And I think that was related to, I played that as a reaction to a shotgun blast at some point, which Fank uses a shotgun in League. And so it was like, oh, this is the sound effect of the victim or something. And somehow that associated in my brain with Fank. And so that scream became Fank's scream. So now you make Fank scream when you click him. Yeah, it does. Don't you see on Fank 2? There's a cigar there. Yeah, I think oops is also a little hard to read. I think I can edit the text color or the text outline or something. I'll try to fuck around with that. It's really tedious to set this stuff up, as you can see with what I was just showing you guys. Like, and then if anytime I add a new one, I have to go into the cooldown section and tick the boxes next to it. So it's just a disaster. So I have to like copy that over and then change values and stuff. So I would not recommend it, basically. I did hear about Blizzard banning this gesture right here. And you know what? All I have to say is this gesture right here. It's ridiculous. I also heard about a bunch of people like pretending that it was real. Like a white supremacist thing. They would even reference the 4chan hoax and then be like, well, white supremacists have used it, so it's white supremacy now. Which, like... Alright, man. I guess you can just let... Even if you did believe that genuinely and that wasn't, like, poisoning the well or whatever, where you're, like, doing that cynically to try to win people over with fucked up arguments, the idea that you're just going to allow people to take memes and co-opt them for purposes, like, that's kind of retarded, right? And surely if bad people using a meme makes it a bad thing to do, then good people using a meme makes it a good thing to do, right? Like, it's the opposite logic not true there? Like, I don't understand why we can't just have well-meaning uses of stuff like that. And people just can't understand that there's nuance to symbols and stuff. But, I mean, I can understand why they don't understand it. Or they refuse to understand it, more likely. But... yeah, I agree, Imperator. I agree. Mohammed Reza Zair, if I said your name right. Welcome to the stream. How you doing? So today we're going to be working on Artanis' AI. Artanis is a newly acquired addition to Hydra 2.0's Protoss campaign. I'm using this opportunity to show him fighting alongside Phoenix, more or less. So in the first Protoss mission, which this is a remake of, Phoenix will be an AI ally, and if you play single player instead of multiplayer, Artanis will be an AI ally. So I'm writing the AI ally script right now for Artanis. I'm actually writing the task list right now, which will help me keep track of the AI's personalities and priorities. So we do VT or VP01. The fall. I actually don't remember what the syntax was for this. It was just VTeran. Okay, so we'll just do VProtoss. I'll change it later if I feel like it. VP1 task list. Player here is just the Executor. Same as the Magistrate. There's not really any heroes in the Zerg campaign until Kerrigan rolls around. And before then, you'll be able to use a hero strain to still have something of a hero mechanic. And that's, of course, if I decide to stick with the idea of heroes as, like, opt-in things. Which still I haven't really tested that well. So I might have it implemented partially and play around with it. And if I feel like the concept sort of is just too distracting from large-scale macro, I might just omit it entirely. I'm not sure yet. No, that's actually a StarCraft 2 retcon, as far as I'm aware. And I think that there was some implications, although this might have just been fan theory that I misinterpreted as potential canon, that the Executor in the second campaign in Brood War was actually Celendis. But, that again, that might have just been like a fan theory or some sort of, like, idea that somebody had to cover up Blizzard's silliness. Oh, that's not the... that is not quite a real tile there. There we go. I'm not very used to this particular tile set, or this tile type, so that'll take some getting used to. Yes, Imperator. I will probably not be restarting the stream. Maybe I will restart it, but it'll be like back-to-back. If I do bother to restart. That'll just be so I can get some water and separate the VOD out. Don't like this. This could definitely be a little more varied. There you go. Okay. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Either way, I'm not that interested in it. I was always of the under the impression that the Executor was the same character in Brood War as he was in Vanilla, which was not really the same thing as like the other two Brood War campaigns, where the Cerebrate was different, I think, between the two Zerg campaigns, and the obviously it was Magistrate in the first one, but as a UED captain in the second one, so it's not really the same thing there either. So maybe it is actually meant to be a new Executor, but I feel like it's dubious enough, or whatever you want to say there, that it doesn't really matter that much. It's a vague enough. There you go. Nebulous enough. Okay, so for this AI, obviously you don't really have too much tech at your disposal in this mission. You only have up through Reavers for the robo facility side. Well, you have observers as well. And then you have the Zealot, Dragoon, and the alternative Zealot and the alternative Dragoon, which are the Legionnaire and the Hierophant. So I'm definitely going to be working with lots of gateways, as you can see by what I've laid out already. These are all just pre-placed here for me to track coordinates if you're new to the stream or you have never seen me in this particular mode. So these will not be pre-placed at map start. You'll just have your Nexus and 4 workers. Your AI ally will be in the same boat. But this helps me make sure that the AI's building placement is consistent. Oh, actually, I did have a message from iQuare about a potential solution to the supply issue. Oh, did you, oh shit! You sent me this stuff on Discord, Room Tech? That's, not looking too hot there, I must say. Alright. Put the chat's back up here. Modstream tag on Discord? Yes, I can indeed. Monsieur. Oh, I actually forgot to ping it this time. So I guess I'll do that. I have to do that from my phone because Ripcord does not let me ping roles yet. Hopefully that will change soon. There you go. And then I can find you in my user list. We're going to scroll up to when you told somebody to apprehend that man. There we go. Moderation, roles. Bing, bang, Modstream ping. Okay. You're in, dude. So you'll be notified when I remember to ping that. You actually... What's up, Veek? I forgot to ping earlier. We've actually been live for like 10 minutes, but don't worry, we haven't done anything yet, because that's how productive I am. What's up, man? Connor requested the face cam. However, I think he may have fallen asleep. Or he's just quiet today. And that's okay because it's pretty late where he is, so hopefully he enjoys the VOD. Mostly me just talking shit. Doing nothing. So far, anyways. Let's try and change that.
Oh no!
Yeah, exactly. Let me just resync that real quick because it was starting to lag. Let me just move this over to here. I haven't been able to find a fix for the things that you were discovering earlier, Veek, with the mixer issues. I wish I was. Like, I wish I knew what was causing those, with the color depth being off, or whatever the color values. Unfortunately, I have no ideas about what could be causing that. So, until I do... Music stream in your Discord bot. Are you writing it in JavaScript? That's what I wrote Officer Todd in, but JavaScript is pretty bad. So, and I'm pretty bad at it. So it's like a lose-a-lose. It's actually where he lives right here at, believe it or not. He just assigns the club member role to people when they come in, which I manually have to do if they if he is offline for some reason. There is like a bug in his code that I haven't been able to track down and haven't had the motivation to rewrite him to fix. It like throws an error or something. So until I, every now and then he just shuts off silently. My progress on this so far is that I did actually do some terraining and stuff on the last mod stream. I set up the outline pretty well, I think. And I did a lot of like extended terrain and stuff. This still needs, obviously, there's like a lot of tiling over here. And I still have to figure out where the expansions are going to be there. But otherwise, I feel like the outline is taking shape. And this is a temporary thing just to remind me that what I'm after is some sort of meaningful separation of these and maybe some high ground stuff. So that you're... if you are going to take a longer, potentially safer rotation to help Phoenix, you're going to, you know, you can do that, but it's going to take you longer. Otherwise, you could go through white space, but that would also potentially take you, you know, obviously that would be a bit more perilous. I'm also thinking of adding another ramp over here and a reverse one over here, but that may be too many places for Phoenix to hold from, so... Not 100% sure about that one yet. Because I have no idea how I would do that. Any information I did know, any expertise I did have when it comes to Discord.js went out of my head as soon as, like, maybe like a week after I started writing it, so... I'm sure if you looked at that code, you'd be, like, having a heart attack because of how bad it is. Because anybody who's even bothered to learn JavaScript and has even the faintest knowledge of Discord.js would be like, you know, what the fuck's going on? I mean, I can send it to you if you want. It's not gonna look good. But, oh boy. Let's see where it is here. A lot of it is also commented out. So it's a mess. No, I still need backwards ramps and some other ramp modifications for the temple tile set, or for the temple tile type. I also still need to personally go in and make the temple tile, or temple ramps blend with things like dirt. So that, I think there's an example of it somewhere over here. Yeah, I need to blend this with ruins, for example, so that it meshes well. Which isn't going to be too difficult to do, that last part. The main issue is that the grass sort of overgrows some of the pixels here, but I can recreate the details sort of eyeballing it, because they're so minor and they're only on one side of this area anyways, besides a little bit over here. Then I can just add a little bit of depth with shading, and it should match everything that I need it to match. The bigger issue is definitely going to be the reverse ramps. DF said that he would eventually tackle those, but I don't fucking blame him for not jumping at that opportunity. Especially considering the fact that we're currently dealing... Like, he just finished the asphalt ramp a couple of weeks ago, and it took him a long time to do that, so... Any more grueling processes, and he may, I just don't want him to fall over, you know what I mean? So, what I'll do is this. I also want, at some point, to merge high dirt with raised jungle edges. At some point I need to do that. If I don't do that, then I would have to block this off with a really weird way. Don't say Dirt Archon. Like, now it's sort of like a very unattractive option to path through, but the AI is too stupid to know that that's the case, so they would obviously path through it all the time and get annihilated. But, once I merge this here, I'll be able to, like, fully seal that passageway off. You'll either have to go through this base or go up this cliff if I do decide to add ramps, which I probably will, or just go all the way around. I think the main issue is that this map still feels kind of cramped after all of the expansions that I've done to it. I've done a bunch of, like, small pushes downward and small pushes to the right, but it still feels a little cramped. I think Mesk's AI still freezes or crashes or does something like that, so no, unfortunately. No such luck for him. But that's okay. Sometimes you just gotta let another man do the work for you. If you know what I mean. I get to do that now. I get to be on face cam with you guys. Pretty homo. That's what it's all. That's what I am all about. Yeah, there you go. A little sleepy, so hard for me to make words with my mouth. I also need to make the ruins versions of these ramps, as you can see. This would basically be like a version of the asphalt ramp, the ruins high dirt ramp, to make the roads work. Balethal did explain expansions to me, so I should be able to talk about those once I get over to Warcraft 3. Pretty fucking nice, if you ask me. Alright. See you when you return, Mr. Imperator. So, Rimtech, since Warcraft 3 has been the talk of the town for a little while, I wanted to ask if you had any interest in that game's custom content, if you had any past experiences with it. It's been pretty negative for me, I must say. But working with Warcraft 3 has reminded me of when I was just starting out to work with AI in Brood War, and how foundational it was to leveling up my understanding of level design and stuff. So it's kind of cool to revisit that. I definitely think that, generally speaking, the my project will definitely play a lot more like an RTS than a lot of the other ones have. And I'm really looking forward to showing some of that stuff off when I can. So, stay tuned, I suppose. I think some mineral onlys are fine. I'm just going to add a couple more to this. Alright, I think we're good to, can we even run this map? Did I place that correctly? Looks like I did. Although, really the question is, did I place a location here? Yeah, I did. Hey, what's going on, Curb? Welcome to the stream, dude. check real quick. Is it this going to be the one to be one guy gets Phoenix and the other must get to him or something like that? No, actually, that is an interesting idea. I might have even run with that if I hadn't already invested so much time into a map layout. So player 1's going to be the Executor, player 2 is going to be the Artanis, and the other player is going to be an AI ally, similar to the first turn mission of 2.0, where you have an AI ally in the center of the map controlling backwater. Except obviously this time Phoenix's forces have to survive, right? So at the very least, he or his base will have to live. And you'll be essentially in charge of safekeeping him. Keeping him safe. Oh yeah, you know what I should have? Yeah, that's a little out there, man. Let's see, did that even make it? Sometimes it doesn't make it. It says it's writing it, but I don't see that happening. Maybe we need to run the game again. Oh, it's so nice to just be able to pop right in, I gotta say. Okay, there we go. We've been working with Warcraft 3 lately, and it takes so long to get anywhere through the menus. Even the menus are slow. Isn't that insane? Yeah, I know that's what you meant, but it's just crazy to me. That was for player 3, so why don't we find player... Oh.
Is that really you?
You? You know what I meant to do is, I have to select all these units and make them invulnerable. So that it would work. I'm starting to work on Warcraft 3 stuff, yeah, Curb. Mostly just exploration, trying to figure out if the AI can be worked with. So far, it seems like I'm going to have to rewrite the lower level functions of how the AI handles attacks, and I can't tell them where to build. So I'm not sure exactly how that'll work. But really, I want to avoid the guard system and the formation system if I can. But I'm going to wait a little bit before getting wrapped up in all that. There we go. I am still looking to upgrade, I guess, but update in Consummate Pilot Master. So if you have some ideas for what the new version, what you would like to see in the new version, maybe something in particular that you didn't like, I'm all ears for that. I'm gonna need my unit depth. Rimtech, did you mean in StarCraft 2? For sure, the Cerebrits are all dead because they killed them off in a Q&A session. I still can't believe that. Alright. Okay, so this is Nexus. 156 is Pylon. Yeah, you like that one, V? I'm glad that you're appreciating the production value, man. That is like the bare minimum now for me, anyways, for what I would expect in like a released product that like to my standards, I would want it to be fully voice acted, have a bunch of like music for the briefings and stuff, and consistent with its own like, you know, gameplay pacing and such like that. The custom menus, custom hero stuff. That's like to me that feels like the bare minimum. Honestly, the thing is, like, I've gotten so good. And I know I sound kind of douchey when I say stuff like this. At least that's my interpretation. But I have gotten good enough at making StarCraft maps that I could remake and consummate, do it better, and also make it faster. If I was aiming for the same quality threshold, I would make it so much faster than what I ended up making it. So, let's see, what was I saying? Yeah, for sure, the opening dialogue in the first mission takes a long time to get through, and then you get control for like 3 minutes, and then you have to lose it again. So in the new version, I've removed the entire micro section, and you start out from where the lurker trap is. That's like the opening cutscene of the first map, and the briefing is shorter than it was before as well. So you just go basically right into it by comparison. You say years worth of time on Warcraft? Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work out, Curb. I'm going to be honest with you. It might just be a waste of a couple of days. But so far, I've only put in a couple of days worth of work. So to me, that's fine to explore it. And it was nice to give it a shot anyways. Sexy as Gateway. But I was definitely acutely aware of that after I took a step back from the campaign. My earlier maps were way worse than that, so I viewed that as an improvement. But it still had a long way to go before it was like a indicative of an objective quality standard, I guess you could say. So I definitely fully agree with what you were saying. As for whether or not the dialogue was cringy, I think it could have been worked at better if I spent more time nailing the voice acting, which I admittedly at some points didn't do a great job at. And I also didn't do a great job at making the edits and the acting sound different enough and distinct enough between certain characters. So I definitely can see where that can rub people the wrong way. I didn't have that many... I didn't spend that much money on voice actors or anything like that, so I didn't... I limited myself in that respect. But I probably would still be doing the vast majority of the work myself now. But I think I'm better at an actor and an editor at this point, so... hopefully that is not as noticeable once we get to the nitty-gritty. Hello, Heltrix. I think that once, like, after the first mission, one of the really big things that I don't like about the first mission of Inconsummate, it gives you the complete wrong impression. You think, like, oh, this is a campaign with a lot of cutscenes, and some of them are really long. But that's actually really it. Like, after you get past the first mission, the first mission's briefing, then you have the opening cutscene, then you play around for 3 minutes, or 2 minutes, or whatever, and then you find Goska, and there's a long cutscene there, and then you play for, like, 5 minutes, and then you find Strawlium, and there's a long cutscene there. But that's really it for cutscenes, especially in the middle of gameplay. There's some cutscenes at the end of missions or at the beginning of missions, but those are skippable when you come back through. You can press escape at the beginning and skip them, and they're just there for, like, story padding, obviously. Like, they feel purposeful, more so in the later missions. Whereas, like, the early campaign, like, the first mission really screwed it up, I think. A lot of people probably... I can see a lot of people thinking that they got, like, the wrong impression from just playing that, you know what I mean? Yeah, Curve, exactly. That was one of the main issues that I had with it, though, that one mission. Is that there was no, it wasn't consistent with what you would be seeing later. Which I guess is a good thing in this case, because it means I corrected the issue. But I definitely didn't have to leave it there for that long. Why don't we move this pylon? Oh man, the pylons are all over the place. whatever. We'll figure that out later. I think the microsection served its purpose at tutorializing Goska's abilities and new statistics, like how his unit behavior was. And it was like kind of a cool introduction to the new doodads that I had made. But I think for sure one of the main issues was... Oh, you know what? I actually wrote out which AI this was. Oh, actually, I didn't write it out. I didn't finish. Well, that's fine. We don't really need it right now. I was in the middle of saying something, but I don't remember what it was. Something about Inconsummate being inconsistent with itself. Oh, yeah, I was talking about the microsection and its merits. I feel like I can do a better job explaining and translating, or like having some sort of information control with Goska's ability, and what his new kit is different anyways. So he behaves somewhat similarly to the original, but you actually have to, like, basically I made it so that his grenade stuns for less length than normal Maelstrom. And I'll probably make it so that it has slightly longer travel time as well, so that it's a little bit more skill reliant, and maybe reduce the impact zone, but obviously decrease the energy cost as a relation to that. And then his passive, instead of being RNG, you actually have to be cloaked in order to get the stun off. So it'll be like every so many attacks, you'll get a stun proc. And that stun proc will have an audio cue associated with it, as well as a visual one when I get around to making that. So you'll always be able to know, if you're watching him anyways, when his stun is ready. And I'll try to light up something on his command card as well, but that's that may be a little bit more difficult. So there's some sort of indication that he's ready to go. And then you can cloak him, or maybe he's already cloaked, and then his next attack will stun. And that stun will last a lot longer than before. So that'll be like double the length of Maelstrom. Like maybe half the length of Lockdown, something like that. So it'll be a little bit more powerful, and that'll be more for like single target damage, or single target zone control. And to sort of counterplay around this, obviously I'm thinking about enabling Medic Restore as Terran, but there's not really anything you could do as Protoss or as Zerg right now. So it should still feel powerful, and even then the medics are not going to be super common in Rainer's Raiders. I'll probably tone them down a little bit from what they are currently. So you should still have enough ability to use that thing. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a very useful hero, Pylon Master, but I feel like it was a point-and-click stun that moved pretty quickly and had a pretty wide AoE. So it wasn't really a whole lot of interactivity. Like, you didn't feel like you were a really skillful player for using it. And then the RNG stuff is like, you literally can't account for RNG. So if it happened, it was good. And it was weighted in your favor anyways. And if it didn't happen, it was like, oh, well, if only I got a stun there, you know? So I definitely want to get rid of the RNG stuff at the very least, even if I make no change to the stun grenade. But I think the fact that you have to be cloaked while grenading, or while stunning with your rifle, means that you're going to be using more energy anyways, so it makes sense to reduce the impact and thus the energy cost of the grenade. In that respect. Let's run ZB time. Tab this over. You want an Ultralisk hero now? I don't really know what instance it would make sense in a more serious campaign. I guess in Hydra you will be able to use it, because you'll eventually be able to upgrade your hero strain into an Ultralisk. Which I'm thinking of making an ability for that you toggle it on, and or maybe it'll just be a behavioral thing, and you'll it'll make that unit take damage over time when near other units, but also damage them. So it's like it's trampling them, which I think would be interesting if I could pull off somehow to deliver upon that fantasy of an Ultralisk literally stomping on people. But I don't know how exactly that would work. Ascended, actually? Is that like a prank or something? Let me take a look. Oh, I see. Let me just go ahead and retract that. That's not really that big of a deal because it doesn't have any permissions. Although I guess maybe somebody could like code some in. It does have. No, I think they would need access to the server's management to give the bot permissions to like kick people, unless they can do that from the actual JavaScript itself. But so I could just add this below the "you actually" thing then. Ah, shit. I pranked myself. What was the gateway called, anyways? 160. That's pretty funny that I did that. Well, glad to see that still is a problem. Getting arrested now for that. Somebody already used that key. It's over. Oh yeah, Rimtech, I left you all alone over on Mixer. Episode 6, 1 is dealt with Kerrigan shortly after victory. Apparently, Wiki says Blizzard confirmed that Otanis is executive from episode 3 in the story so far. Yeah, that was from StarCraft 2, though. That was the StarCraft 2 opener for... I think it was Wings of Liberty, but it might have been something else. One of the other expansions. And I don't take StarCraft 2 lore into account. I don't take book lore into account, either. I'm not even really taking the main story into account, because Artanis obviously wasn't there initially. And, well, I guess technically it was, but he wasn't there if you're not saying that the executor is him. And on top of that, you're also not really looking at the idea of, I just lost my train of thought again. Pranked. Replace bot on ready, line 19. Okay, thanks, Week. Sorry, you're lagging. Yeah, what I was ranting about with regards to the story was just that I don't think that there's much value in preserving the original lore, even in Brood War, because what I think most people like, and maybe I'm just wrong here, but even so, it is what I like, is the feeling of Brood War, the feeling of StarCraft. Like, the setting and the universe spoke to us more so than the actual story did. Some people did get attached to certain characters, but I feel like most people got attached to, like, the racial identity of the theme, or of the races, like, the themes of them. Like, the fact that the Zerg are this, like, thing that you can't reason with, and that they're, like, an unrelenting force of nature is cool. And then the Protoss have that weird, like, mystical, spiritual shit with them. The actual characters of the Protoss are really fucking silly sometimes, and they also just go on random, they do, like, some stuff that really isn't that smart. And especially seems out of place for a supposedly advanced alien race. Kind of breaks immersion in that respect. But you don't really think about that too much, because the concept of the Protoss is so cool. At least that's how I've always interpreted it. So I'm mostly just trying to write my own stories in ways that are fun and exciting, we'll say. So I don't care that much about the original canon, is basically what I'm saying. Nor do I care that much about the photon cannon. Just kidding, I care about that one. I would never lie about the photon cannon. Let me do this here. Those. Pop this up here. There's another forge somewhere. It's Zerg here. You're thinking a really strong unit that you get some insert story here for one map that helps you deal with big enemy forces. My main issue with that curve is that it feels like it breaks consistency. One of the things I really want to do in my campaigns is establish some consistent elements, which is one of the reasons why Warcraft 3 is so challenging in some respects, because the whole thing is built around RNG at first, so I've had to do the entire game, basically, in terms of balance. Rebalance the entire game to fit my vision. And then, also, it's almost pseudo-RNG with the AI right now, because nobody's really figured it out. But, I think that when you have like a random, it almost feels like a carnival ride or a gimmick or something that just comes out of left field when you have a hero unit that can annihilate everything. Obviously, in some cases, variety is a spice of life. But I also think that for a lot of my projects, I want some element of consistency, which is one of the reasons why I'm doing something like Hydra, which is super consistent. Like, you always have everybody starts with 4 workers in a command center, a town hall. You build up from nothing. Your AI enemies build up from nothing. The defender's advantage is built around to the terrain. Maybe some other things like neutral creep spreaders or pylon power or bunkers or whatever. But for the most part, it's just the terrain that gives them the advantage. And their idea of like them having perfect map knowledge, obviously, because they're AI. And I've built them in such a way that they will be efficient and competitive. And obviously, they also cheat with money, but it's a little bit later on. So, like, that's an example of, like, going very, very far the other way. Perhaps too far, we'll see. But, aside from that, you know, I think there is room for something like what you're describing in projects that I work on in the future, where I am just trying to make a bit of a tech demo or, like, experiment with different map ideas or whatever. And it's not really taken as down to the wire as something like Hydra is. That down to the wire is kind of a silly term to use there, but hopefully you get the idea. Yeah, and you might be right about that, Curb, in such a way that maybe I can figure out some way to do that for the hero system, where you can have some sort of evolution or something like that. Yeah, Rimtech, that's the only other campaign I would recommend, I think, is the Reaver Menace. Despite your proclivity for smashing Reavers in the head. As far as the idea you had, Pylon Master, I didn't forget about it. I did read it. I think the main issue is I'm generally in favor of making RTS maps. If I was going to do a micro mission like that, I would have to make it meaningful and lengthy and almost sort of like RPG-esque in a way, but mod in all of those functionalities. Like, it triggers me to no end when people just like make me hotkey a Stargate and press like build a scout to cast the spell. Just put the spell on the command card and mod in some functionality for it. And I know it's like saying just, but I'm basically saying like just paint a Mona Lisa without knowing what the fuck you're doing, because if you don't know what you're doing with assembly, that's basically what I'm asking you to do. But if you're not willing to do that, then not willing to learn. I don't know, it's just frustrating at times to play maps like that where they might have some good concepts under the hood, but it's so hard to see through everything else, you know? So I guess that would be my initial gripe with that. But I have actually came up with some interesting, in my opinion, concepts for micro-esque or RPG-esque missions. Like, there was one that I was planning on for in Consummate, actually, which would end with you playing as Phoenix, and you having to evacuate a bunch of your allied Protoss from Korshakal after the events of the 5th mission, which I won't spoil if you don't already know what happens. And I feel like that definitely could have... that could have worked as a standalone mission, but I don't think it would have made much sense as a like an actual part of the campaign. Like I would have had to release it as an accessory or something, DLC. Yeah, actually, you did have to evacuate Aldaris. He was like the first guy you had to evacuate. And my idea was to eventually you would meet up with a new character that I was going to use to like bridge the gap between Inconsummate and its sequel. Which obviously now he's just going to be introduced in the sequel. Because I'm not going to most likely make that map. But, let's say... When it comes to the... plot of that mission, it was just eventually you like met up with Raynor and went to the warp gate, because like it was supposed to explain how he eventually left for the warp gate, like what he was doing between the 10th mission of Vanilla Protoss and the first mission of Brewbor Protoss, was like sort of bridging that gap, because he wasn't in the 10th mission of Vanilla Protoss, so I wanted to like explain why he was absent. And the idea was that he was responding to a distress call from Aldaris because they were getting annihilated. Yeah, I think as long as you're fairly upfront with your mechanics, Curb, whatever you're planning on doing for design tenants is probably fine, as long as it's established in those first two maps, in that rough timeline. But, it's more challenging than it sounds to not succumb to feature creep, basically. If you're... What, do you mean the, Protoss secret mission? I'll eventually do that, yeah, if I get there. Alright, I gotta think positively. When I get there. Yes. Yes. I will make 6 campaigns. Yes. It will happen. Exactly, Runesack. StarCraft 3 released, and it's like a pay-to-win MOBA or something. On mobile. On your Nintendo Switch. Exactly, dude. Hey, I got it done, though. It only took me 4 years. Or 5, I guess, if you count this past one. Yeah. Do you have enough points for it? I didn't play WoW, like basically at all. I played a little bit of it more recently when I was thinking about doing a video on it, but it was like so mind-numbing that I didn't even bother. But I didn't play Vanilla WoW at all either. I think when I played it was Lich King. Oh, sorry about that. I didn't even hear it over the music. I'll save up for the Sonic streams when you die. And that 15 times. Thanks, dude. So yeah, I have no thoughts on that. From what I've been told, it's a hackneyed implementation, and it's not actually one-to-one. Like, they have sharding and some other mechanics in there that weren't in the original WoW. I don't know if that's what the community actually wanted. But in general, it feels like Blizzard is just going back to their old content and redoing it in some ways, but in a half-assed manner. I think Reforged will be the main thing that dictates whether or not there's any hope for the consumer base. Because with that game, it seems like they approached it knowing that they had to redo all of the art because the game is ugly as fuck. They had to fix all the unit proportions because the game was unreadable. And they had to do a whole bunch of other host of other things. And they're updating the campaign, they're updating the map editor. Like, it actually looks like they're pushing to revitalize it and make it a new game, almost. Which is very different than what they did with Remastered, where they just made it look uglier and perform slower, and added a bunch of fucking middleware that lets you have pre-order skins and like BlizzCon event skins and stuff so that they can get their microtransaction engine in there, which maybe they will end up trying to monetize at some point, but with a team of like 2 people, I don't think it's going to happen. Anyways, I feel like they've really dropped the ball with the remaster for StarCraft. I was not impressed at all. And it was sort of like exactly what I knew was going to happen, except their art was way worse than I thought it would be. Reforged looks more promising. Vanilla WoW seems like a retread that's sort of pointless, but I guess people have been asking for it. It's just that need is already filled by private servers, as far as I understand, unless they shut them all down. Yes, well, from what they're saying, Reforged will have a brand new editor or like a bunch of changes to the editor. I'm not holding my breath for any AI-related changes, which is what I would want, but hopefully we get some new constants. Like, I've had to put together a whole bunch of weird like hacks in the trigger that really should just be natives to the engine, so that I can have some functions that, like I said, should be native to the engine, in my opinion. Like, I wanted to make it so that there was a multiplier on gold income for the AI, so that we would have... similar to what I have with Brood War, where they drain the same amount of money from the gold mine, but they get more from it, which is like sort of to buffer the AI being really bad at unit control, without making it so that they just have infinite money, because then it's not interactable. You can still starve an enemy of bases. Eventually they will run out of money, especially since they generally keep their money low with the way that I write the scripts. So I had to like do that through triggers instead of just having that be an upgrade or something. Yeah, I did try to reverse upkeep and make a negative upkeep percentage, and manually set their upkeep using JAS. I tried calling that in AI script, I tried calling that in triggers, and they just got the same as normal. When I gave it to myself, I got no gold, so there's some hard code related to AI that prevents that from happening, from negative integers, or negative reals, I guess. Oh no, it would be an integer, because it was negative 50 for 0.5. But yeah, either way, it was just foolish. So like that didn't work. So I just had to do some hack job stuff. Yeah, Pylon Mass. It was also because their engine was so bad that it couldn't support, and still really can't support, large armies. Like if you have like I think 4 players at 200 food, where most units are costing 1 or 2 food, which is what's probably going to happen in my campaign. If I end up getting it off the ground, at the very least there'll be 4 players that are doing that sort of thing. So if you have something like that, you're on modern hardware, the game can slow to a crawl. Don't say that, Rimtech. As far as whether or not I had thought of building a StarCraft-like RTS from scratch, yeah, absolutely. That is my dream, actually, is like my ultimate goal in life. That's what I'm doing all of this other stuff for, is beyond just it being a hobby of mine and satisfying me on like a I guess I don't even know what kind of level you would talk about that, but I want to make an RTS that doesn't have the flaws of Brood War and has all of the strengths, basically. Like, learns from Brood War and improves on the formula, which is obviously really ambitious, especially when you consider that I think that Brood War is the best game, certainly that I've played, if not that I've ever encountered or heard of, or that has ever been made. Like, I think it's the most solid when it comes to the multiplayer. That doesn't mean that it's necessarily even good on an objective scale. It might not be. We might see something that comes out later that is, like, way, way better and shows, like, how much better you can be than Brood War. It's just that nobody tried. But, yeah, that's, like... I think that there's a lot of problems with certain elements. I think that if the pathing was just a little bit smarter, I don't know exactly how you would solve for that, because it's still the best pathfinding that I've seen in any game. Like, Warcraft 3 and StarCraft 2 take so much control away from you, it's not even funny. And everything else is pretty much non-competitive, besides maybe Armies of Exego, but that had turn delay, I think, so... that might be something you could mess around with in the editor, but that really contributed to it. But I think that generally speaking, there's a crisis of people not really wanting games that challenge them. And when you have stuff like that, you're obviously going to be, like, if you're trying to make something like it's like StarCraft that's super challenging and super demanding, requires a lot out of you, you're obviously going to run into issues of monetization or whatever you want to call it. Like, your game's not going to be financially stable. So you have to be working on it basically for free and not expecting to turn much of a profit on it at all in terms of, like, the money that you would be spent for the time that you took to make it. Because you're making it right, you're not rushing it for a deadline. And that's, like, the benefits of quote-unquote indie developing in that case, because you're not really beholden to publishers. You just do this on the side as, like, your real passion job while you work a day job or something. Uh-oh. You just got destroyed. I appreciate the offer, Veek. At some point, I'm sure that is going to come in handy. What happened with my mix? What a bizarre situation to be in. For it to just leave like that. Just smash it in the head, honestly. Alright. So, what I was talking about with regards to pathfinding is that I feel like if players, especially at a higher level, needed to focus a little bit less on making sure that their units weren't getting swallowed up by bad or subpar pathfinding, you would have, they would have more APM to spend on things that I think contribute better to, like, actual meaningful decisions. Like, the only reason why... It's kind of an arbitrary line in the sand to draw. The only reason why ordering your unit, like, 5 times instead of 4 times or whatever is meaningful in Brood War is because the AI is too... or the pathfinding is too dumb to get that thing right the 4th time you click it, or something like that, you know? Whereas, I don't know how you would control for that, like, how do you set... how many clicks to get somewhere is too much, right? Did you have to click 3 times to get too much? Like, obviously it's situational in Brood War anyways, it's not always like that. Not always a problem where you have to click it a billion times. Just usually, and to varying degrees. But, I don't know. I feel like there's some things that are probably a little too wonky, like maybe Dragoon Gum. Like, if those kinds of things weren't in the game, I think pros would have a bit of a better time being able to focus APM and their mental energy on things that tend to be a bit more exciting than unfucking your units, I guess. Brood War doesn't really have that many issues with 8-player maps. You can run into CCMU, obviously. That can be expanded without... It is kind of a hassle right now, but once we do it, it'll be done. Obviously, the fact that there's only 8 player slots makes it really challenging to make super large-scale things, which Warcraft 3 doesn't have that issue, StarCraft 2 doesn't have that issue, but they have the issue of their engines being so bad that if you do have those players, you just die, you know?
Hey, man.
Hey, Imperator. What's up, dude? Welcome back. It's a lot harder to get to 200 in Brood War, though. Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily a flaw of the game. Might be a flaw of the maps that are in the map pool. I think the maps have been balanced around faster engagements, so you see games not really last longer than 30 minutes. But, let's see, 480 or 450 here. Oh, you know what? I need to put this way up above. Hey, cool, Pilot Master. Let me know how it goes. Keep us updated. Oh, I see what you're saying, Curb. Yeah, it's definitely harder for you to hit 200 supply in large games, just because generally you're going to be fighting, right? How many units do I have in my Warcraft 3 tech tree per race? I would say... I haven't finalized any of that stuff yet. I'm probably going to have maybe 2 melee units that are like quote-unquote generic melee units, but it'll more be like you'll have a footman type unit and then a cavalry unit that's like the knight. At least this is like my rough idea. So you have one unit that's more agile, but maybe less armored. And has slightly more range, so they have like a lance or something. So you can kite with it a little bit better, since turn delay is like turn. Handle all that. I don't see much of a point in third caster, third flyer. Like, you think about how many units Brood War has for its races is usually what I would go for. Marine, Medic, Firebat, Ghost, Goliath, Siege Tank, Vulture, Wraith, Dropship, Science Vessel, Battlecruiser, Valkyrie is 11 units. Of those units, you have 2, well, I guess 3 if you count the Ghost as spellcasters. But they all do very different things. Dropship is obviously a transport unit, so it's like a dedicated support unit. And then you're left with like 8 combat units, some of which attack only air or only ground.
Take this! Take this!
No.
Take this!
No, no, no. Dude, that scared the shit out of me, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I think I need to reduce the cooldown on it. What do you think? That's an integer, though. It can't be fractions. So I'll trust people to use it responsibly. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Imperator, I think it's different. You want asymmetrical balance and then just try to tune stuff so that things feel relatively good. Especially in a campaign setting where you're not really trying to support melee. I think that's probably the better way to do it. But I'll probably think a little bit more about that once I get over to the Warcraft 3 portion of today's event. But I will be thinking a little bit about that subconsciously as we make our way through here, so I'll let you know if I have any more thoughts on it. So if I remember correctly, our pylons are... This should be our second one. 30, 40, 42, 24... Where is that? Oh, it's actually our 5th one. Where is... Okay, so I just need to know that for when I request the forge, obviously. So, oh, I think this is the first one then? No, that's the second one. This is the first one. No. It's the third one. Where the fuck is the first one? Maybe it's this one? Oh, that's the... How embarrassing. That's the Nexus. Grim Reaver? Are you gonna do a Reaver profile picture? Yeah, I think it is asymmetrical balance in Warcraft 3 curve. I think the problem is just that you don't have too many you don't have too much interaction. A lot of spells are on autocast. A lot of active abilities. Battles take forever, which is the only reason why the active abilities work, by the way. It's really weird. Like, individual units, I think, have way too much significance in that game. And, yeah, for sure. I've decided to rework the armor system entirely. I'm thinking that I'm probably just going to have small, medium, and large like StarCraft. And then I'm going to make maybe 4 or 5 different weapon types. But probably just 4. It'll be like, you know, slashing, which will be normal. Piercing, which will be like additional to small, sort of like concussive. And reduced to large. Or I guess it'll be like full damage to small, slightly reduced to normal, further reduced to large. Again, basically concussive. And then you have Magic and Siege are the others. So Siege will be like explosive in StarCraft, where it's like max to large, reduced to normal, reduced to small, further reduced to small. Yeah, probably Rimtech. I was just thinking of like ranged units that already use the piercing one. Would probably be using concussive. But I can figure out the names for it later. I don't even know how to rename them, so I gotta figure that out at some point. Probably shouldn't be too difficult. It's probably just in gameplay constants. What was the other thing I was thinking of? So Magic and Siege, explain what Siege is. Magic is actually going to be a little bit special. Magic will deal full damage to everything. Maybe have something that's reduced to fortified, or whatever I put on buildings. Like Siege will do full to fortified and full to large. Like, fortified will only exist basically to absorb magical damage a little bit more than others. I can't tell. It's hard for me to tell when you're being serious and when you're not from tech. What is slashing about when they bounce off? Slash the ground? Cut the grass? What do I think about a tier 2 or 3 ranged unit? Yeah, probably. This is something I'm going to mess around with. For me, the humans and the orcs are the easiest to understand. They have the least amount of gimmicks. They still have a lot of gimmicks, so I'll probably use them as bases. Oh, I was thinking that you were talking about them like literally bouncing off as if they were... I don't know. Just bouncing off. I feel like making the damage go up is better than making it go down, but that's you. That is you, actually. I think it's fine to reduce the damage. The problem with making it go up is that when you're using it against the intended target, it will actually be more math that you have to do. At least for me, it's easier to understand damage reduction than damage amplification. So when you see, like, deals 10 damage, deals double damage to ranged units, or whatever the case may be, double damage to heavily armored units, I'm going to look at that and be like, so it deals 20 damage, but only to some units. Where it's like, maybe it's just because it's more enjoyable for me, or more, it feels better for me to consider the maximum strength. Like, no, this is exactly how much my attack can do, before armor, obviously. Let's move it away from... Let's now reduce it in my head to think about how much damage it does to other armors. Like, because then I'm starting at the strongest point, moving down. So I know how much I can do, and I know how little I can do as well after that. Maybe it's just because I'm used to StarCraft, though. I'm not really doing a great job of explaining what I'm all about here. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, for me, it's easier for me to do the math the other way. And psychologically more appealing to me to... it's more appealing to me to subtract from the full damage than to add from the minimum. The worst is when they have both, where something does bonus damage to some things and reduce damage to others, so you actually don't even know where the fuck to go or what to do with the math, which is what StarCraft 2 does with some attacks, so that's great. I agree, Palamasta. That pretty much, like, when it comes to the core game experience of playing the campaigns and the multiplayer, StarCraft is way more engaging. Yeah, I mean, Warcraft 3's armor system is just fucking confusing. And also the fact that everything is RNG on top of it does not help at all. It makes it even worse. Also, I use this anecdote a lot when it comes to Warcraft 3. When you have a player who's like top of his game, and he's streaming some Warcraft 3, and he's like using a Mountain King or a Blade Master or something, and he right-clicks the enemy hero, and he's screaming, "Crit! Bash! Crit! Come on!" Like, that's all he can do, because it's just fucking RNG. Like, when you have a top player doing that, man, that is just sickening. Yeah, exactly, Rinzai. Come on, amputate! I have a 1% chance! It's just sick. I don't know, man. That, to me, turns me off so much from just even looking at it. Well, I actually don't even really know, besides what you've said to me about it, so... Take your humor somewhere else, dude. Destroyed. The pace of Warcraft 3 is very, very slow, Polymass. I will agree with that. Oh, and regarding your username, Grim Reaver, your potential username change. To me, I feel like I've heard that before. And not in the context that you were talking about, where it was somebody from Warcraft 3. I mean, from Brood War, rather, on Battle.net. I guess it could be on Warcraft 3, you never know. But, yeah, when it comes to that, I mean, if you think you want to be the Grim Reaver, you should, at some point, check out the Reaver Menace if you haven't already. Soul Reaver is Warcraft 3? Maybe? I thought it was an anime. I guess there's a Warcraft 3 campaign. Oh, maybe not. There's an NPC in World of Warcraft called Soul Reaver. Let's listen to his sounds. Blizzard knows how to write AI. Oh. Yeah, To the Bitter End looked like it was all about heroes, so I just never looked at it. I do think Pilot Master is more unique. Haven't heard that one before. Feels like StarCraft was made to be fashioned in Warcraft 2 to make it different, and people like the one that they played more. I don't know. Warcraft 2 is pretty fast, from what I've seen, but I haven't played it. I feel like Warcraft 2 actually has sometimes faster combat than Brood War, from the little I've seen of it. Like, units just die in one hit and stuff. I know that there is a lot of RNG in that game too, though, so... Excuse me. Yeah, their last RTS title. How many pylons do they have in this upper platform here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. I have a sickening suspicion, sneaking suspicion, this AI will not have a grand old time with resources. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cannons. Does Artanis really seem like the kind of guy to build a billion Reavers? Listen, that's not Artanis. That's like Carax's replication. Yeah, if you want to send me the link or whatever on Discord, I'll take a look. Hello, Nidus Galvanaskis. Welcome. Welcome to the stream. Welcome back. Just working on this stuff. If you were to scout the first time I meet you, that doesn't bode well. I think he'll be a zealot, but Phoenix is also a zealot, so I don't really know how to rectify that. I know the executor, almost called him magistrate. Artanis, the executor, and I will remain here. Executor will be a Templar hero. Do I have a GitHub account? I think it's Chronogo. because my earlier one got annihilated. Let me try signing in to make sure. Whenever they changed it over to Microsoft, it just destroyed me. I have to grab my password. Okay, found it. I don't know what to make my password. They refuse to accept any of the ones that I'm offering. They want at least 15 characters or 8 characters including a number and a lowercase letter. Well, it was the latter one both of the times, so... It doesn't accept suck my dick 69 as the password? What the fuck? Okay, it took that one. I will never remember it though, so... Hopefully it keeps me logged in forever. Bum 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 bum. Alright, so yeah, CR0NOGO if you want to send it over. Alright. Confederacy versus Minsk. Darkness brings... I don't even know what you're talking about, Rimtech. You've lost your fucking mind. Remember the first time I built a scout in multiplayer, I was called out as a retard. I like the way that you phrased that. Not like I was accused of being a retard. Might as well just... That guy just confirmed me as being retarded. He gave me a diagnosis right there on the spot. He was a legitimate medical professional. I don't know, for some reason that's where my mind went. Ah, well, we were all retards when we were 13, so... I remember when I was... My father was playing a game online, and I was in charge of pushing the buttons, like on the keyboard, because he was too lazy to do that, so he would use the mouse and I would use the keyboard. So he'd like select the barracks and I would have to press M a lot. It's pretty insane, looking back. It's funny if that has happened to another person. I thought that was like a very bizarre story to tell, but apparently it's pretty common. Yeah. Quake is a funny game like that, man. Yeah, I had it. I think my father bought it on release. But he wasn't really a Blizzard gamer. Like, he didn't play any of the other RTSs that I'm aware of. He mostly played Warlords Battlecry 1 and 2. Eventually getting 3 when it came out. When he discovered it. But for some reason, he had Warcraft 3 on release. And Brood War on release. So I don't know what happened there. Maybe he just found it on the store or something and thought it looked cool. Going on, Stratos? Supposed to remember we went to the Best Buy to pick it back in 2000 to pick it up after the Saddam Hussein commercial aired. I don't remember that one. I don't know anything about the commercials. That's pretty awesome, though. StarCraft families. Yeah, Stratos Tego, he's in here. Time to see who is behind the Reaver Menace in alternate. Yeah, that's UED Commander, though. Stratos didn't add any custom AI, so I don't think there was any insane Reaver spam. But I don't really remember. Could be. Pretty sure you have UED Commander to thank for that one, though. How many do they actually get? Hold on. I feel like I'm overboard for the gateways. We have 5 and then 8. So that's 13. This 14th one is a little sham. Don't blame me for the Reaver spam. I'm not that heartless. Crimson Reavers went. Ah, shit. Reavers are so hit or miss. It's great. If you're god at micro, you can pull off so much aggravating bullshit. F Reavers. The one time I, well, so obviously not the one time, that's a little bit of hyperbole. But one of the first times that I was ever endeared towards Jay Barino is when he was loading up Mass Recall or something, and he saw a Reaver in a cutscene, and he was like, fuck that Reaver. I thought that was a pretty good bit. When I was young and impressionable. I think that Reavers are like... The problem with them is that as a player, you tend to misuse them a lot, right? The AI, even if they are dependent on money, still tends to use them properly, as in they still tend to attack with them if they're in range, at the very least. Whereas a lot of times players can get like their Reavers sniped away or something if they're not paying attention. It's something that obviously exists with all units, but for that unit in particular, it can be so devastating. It makes it very challenging to deal with. So... Well, I think Rimtech, the issue is there's not really a whole lot for him to talk about. Especially when he's playing something like the original campaign, which is not very engaging. So he's got to talk about something to make the time pass and just fill the dead air. Generally speaking. That's it for cannons. Reavers are definitely a lot more destructive with StarCraft 2's pathfinding. That's why. That's what I was saying when I said that StarCraft 2 takes control away from you, because the pathfinding. I think there's like a flag or something that's set like this, so it's not inevitable. It's not like hard-coded. Blizzard deliberately designed it so that. Well, it seems like they deliberately designed it because people have reversed it. So that your units will try to clump up together. And on top of push priority, that means that generally you have a pretty shitty time of it. Trying to get out of there. When I played Mass Recall's maps, or no, I played the Antioch Remastered maps, so I don't know if this is any different. And obviously this is a while ago. But they were spawning in Zerglings and stuff, so... Not sure what to do now. Brain is on airplane mode from C++. Dude, you know what? You can open up GPTP and learn how that works, and then code a bunch of stuff for me. Whenever you make test mods for StarCraft 2, I always have to change collision radii just so the game is playable for me. Yeah. I'm sure that at least helps. It would be like playing Warcraft 3 and making like a test project for that and then not removing turn delay and doing a bunch of other really important things. You know what I mean? Like, in order to make the game an RTS, you kind of have to make some sacrifices. Well, there's certainly nothing like succeeding in a situation where you're up against the wall and you have to out-strategize and out-micro your opponent. That's one of the things that I try to like model my maps out of things that would happen or could happen in a multiplayer game of StarCraft at a high level, where players are taking expansions and like... one of the things that I came up with actually was because I was watching some multiplayer matches from one of the more recent tournaments that was run. I don't remember which one it was. But there was a lot of play where the players would be sending like, you know, like 500 minerals worth of tier 1 units to attack an enemy's expansion just to check if it was undefended. And I was like, oh, I can do that really easily with AI scripts because we have a command that just sends units in a sort of haphazard, disorganized way at a high priority. So if I could just do that in the middle of an attack and it won't interrupt the attack at all, it won't have to be organized, it'll just throw them in there and basically be like, hey, did you put some static defense here, or do you have some mobile army here? If not, you might get destroyed by Zerg here or whatever. So that's, I think, a really easy way to do that is to like, you just look at the function, like something that can happen or does happen often in Melee games, and you think like, how can I make this work in the context of a campaign mission? It's a lot harder for Warcraft 3 or other games that have really poor Melee games when it comes to engaging the player. Like StarCraft 2 has all of those macro mechanics and stuff that are just quick time events, basically. But with Brood War, we are blessed to have a still active competitive scene, but a whole bunch of, like, a golden age of stuff where you can look back and say, look at all the stuff that we looked at and all these games that we have, and those are learning materials for developers who want to make engaging products. They can just look at that. So that to me is really, really useful. It's a resource that I always take something different away from when I go back and look at a couple of them. What did you learn on Oh, you're talking to Vic. Vic was talking to Rumsek, actually. Yes, Imperator. I think one of the videos that you're referencing was talking about like the StarCraft 2 having the best campaign. The problem with that is like StarCraft 2's campaign isn't an RTS campaign. Like it's a bunch of micro stuff. But there also really aren't that many RTS campaigns out there. I can't really think of any. At the very least, Armies of Exego's campaign did make me become a better player than I was at playing Armies of Exego. But it did so in kind of cheap ways, and there was a lot of micro missions and weird shit in there too. Also, somebody asked me, I think it was Curb earlier, if I was going to be playing Warcraft 1 and 2 on stream. At some point, yes, I will be. I'm going to finish up Tiberian Sun and then do some FPS games. And after that, I'll be playing some more RTS games. And the FPSs are pretty short, I think, so they won't take up too much time. Probably be done in 2 weeks or so, if I can do it well enough. StarCraft 1 does have some production value to it and some atmosphere for sure, but again, the story falls apart as soon as you look at it, and the gameplay is really mostly miss rather than hit. Have you learned any ASM, Rimtech, or like how ASM works? Did they go over that before they taught you object-oriented programming? Because I'm really struggling with JAS in some ways, where like I'm used to the ASM behavior of Brood War, where it just executes in a line, and JAS sort of does this too, but you have to define everything in a weird order, where your your multi-runs, like what I have here, would be at the bottom because it's like some stripped-out C assembly. I think it was bad as soon as Kerrigan got infested, to be honest. The Terran campaign did a really, really piss-poor job of representing the Protoss. They had these cutscenes and dialogue and stuff that were like trying to make you fear the Protoss, and then they would just sort of dilly-dallied around and did fucking nothing in that mission where you fought them in New Gettysburg. But the Zerg, I felt, were okay in their characterization, interesting in concept, and then they added the humanized figure of the Zerg, and it completely stole away all of the mystique around the race for me. That sounds insane, Imperator. I'm sure Warcraft 1 will be a disaster. I mean, it certainly was accentuated in Brood War, but like Kerrigan by herself isn't really that bad of a character, I guess, in the original, even after she's infested. The issue is the fallout that you have, the damage that the Zerg as a concept takes by her becoming a figurehead for them. I think it's fine for the Overmind to die as well if that's what they want to do, but then just make Dagoth and Zaz more important characters. When Dagoth dies, Zaz takes it upon himself to research this whole Dark Templar threat and maybe urges the Overmind to focus a little bit more heavily on them. So instead of the Overmind just fucking being silent because they wanted to focus on Kerrigan for a few missions, you'd have Dagoth be more of a central figure, maybe even a protagonist underneath the tutelage of the Overmind. And then you can sort of focus a little bit more on his attempt to recreate the Overmind when you reference him in the UED campaign and stuff. Or I guess as well as in the Brood War Protoss one. Cerebrits are all dead after Brood War. They confirmed in a Q&A session that all of the Cerebrits were dead. And that was before StarCraft 2 was even released. Yeah, eventually I think they established it in the game, but it was really goofy. I mean, the thing is, like, even if you do put stock in Brood War's story, or StarCraft's story as a whole, or, like, regardless of whether or not you do it, but I guess especially if you do, it's gonna be really frustrating if they just axe a bunch of characters seemingly out of fucking nowhere, you know? Oops. Yeah, and there were other Cerebrits happening, doing stuff in Brood War. Like, I think their official explanation for the new Overmind forming was Daggeth ordering a bunch of Cerebrits to morph into it. Which I thought was a little weird, like the idea that you could even make a new Overmind was strange to me. Because I thought that the Overmind was supposed to be like a really singular godlike figure. I didn't think it was made any sense for them to be able to recreate it. Yeah, aren't you so happy they were replaced with queens? They do little curtsies, and they have some like weird tit-like thing, you know, coming out of their chest, and they talk. Don't do that, Tech. You'll cause an earthquake. They talk, and they have thoughts and emotions and motivations, and they make some jokes sometimes. Isn't that so Zergy? Isn't that so Zerg-like? You know what the Zerg are in StarCraft 2 are just fucking Forsaken from Warcraft 3. They're just humanized Zerg. Like humanized undead. It's the same fucking thing. It's disgusting, honestly. It's horrible. And the Forsaken are horrible too. Like, don't make any mistake about it. They're horrible. It's like the one thing you had that was unique to your undead, or not even really unique to your undead, but unique about your undead compared to the other races, was that they're mindless. They're not fucking doing shit, you know? That they're being controlled. They're under the thrall of some other creature. And yet, you just get your dick sucked the whole time by Sylvanas. Being like, oh, now we will be independent women. It's like that. You took away the only good thing about your undead. The only potential that they had. So it's just... Man. Exactly, Stratus. However, I do have some interesting information, maybe of interest to you if you're not aware of it. The reason why Cerebrits were not in StarCraft 2, and I don't know how far back this goes, because maybe this had something to do with why they didn't include them. But, I just realized I gotta put my probe calls in here. Oops. Essentially, the reason why Cerebrits were not included in StarCraft 2 is because Games Workshop had a stipulation with them. I think the subtext here is that they would have sued Blizzard for blatant fucking copyright infringement, by the way, if you look at any of the concepts of the Zerg. Actually, the reason why StarCraft even exists is because Blizzard wanted to make a Warhammer 40,000 RTS, but they couldn't get the license from Games Workshop. This is before Games Workshop just outsourced all of their shit, obviously. So, basically, something to do with that stipulation meant that they couldn't use Cerebrits in their new campaign, or their new content. Yeah, the universe is a little bit more down to earth. I like the numbers and scale of 40K. That's one of the things that I like about it that I want to add at some point. Just to build a, just get rid of this. They couldn't sue over Cerebrits. That puzzled me too. So my reading between the lines, what they could have sued for is basically everything else. Zergling, Hydralisk is like Harmagon and Warrior, I think, or something like that. So like, there's all sorts of things that they could have sued over. The problem is, they must have wanted to like vengefully strike back and say, now don't use Cerebrits, which is like the one unique concept you have in your entire game. I don't know why they would have done that though. Like, I don't know what, maybe that's the only thing I can think of is like it was just like a fuck you lawsuit threat, which would have had grounds, of course, just looking at it. I mean, fucking, they could sue them for the discount inverted anteater BDSM retards that they have for the Tal'Darim and Legacy of the Void. They could sue them 20 times over just for that because of the Dark Eldar or whatever they're called. Protoss themselves are basically Eldar. They're just a little not as humanoid. Yeah, it could be that, Imperator. And that's a good point, Stratos, because of Alien. It's obviously inspired by that as well. I think the Ultralisk has a very similar creature in Warhammer as well. I think it's very, very similar, especially the way that they present the assets. So I'll disagree with you there. But oh yeah, you know what? We need the expand thread. I just think that it is very strange. Like, it's a shame we didn't get to see whether or not they would have... I'm sure they would have screwed up the Cerebrits, because they screwed up everything else. Right. Play 40K on stream. I was thinking about it. The first game moves really slowly, and I really hate squads. The second game is not really an RTS. The third game is a little bit more of an RTS. I think they still have squads. I do own it, and I did play it. But I don't remember much about it, besides that the ending is stupid. Like, the last level is really goofy. It's just a weird hero micro mission. They teased something about Necrons, but I didn't hear if they ever came out with any DLC regarding it. I feel like Dawn of War 3 is more of an RTS than Dawn of War 1 by a pretty fucking fair margin. At least the campaign stuff that I've played. I don't know how the melee game handles for either one. But you can actually build stuff like you can in Dawn of War 1, but you don't have... Maybe he still did have squads, I'm pretty sure. The hero stuff was definitely kind of a distraction. I really wish that wasn't there. But it just plays a lot faster than Dawn of War 1, which to me is more like an RTS and less like Warcraft 3, which is some weird other thing. And there's something else I was going to reply to. Oh yeah, Veek asked me to look at the dog crap scripts. Sure. I've written in the town thread after however many hours we've been live for. Oh, exactly 2. Oh, this is kind of like right in front of my face and I'm leaning back. Huh? We'll lower that a little bit. So it's not absorbing my beard here. Obscuring, obfuscating. Good luck with your 3-hour test room, Tech, whenever you decide to take it. Shit. Dude, he's busy fighting, fighting the old gods. Or chaos gods, whatever the... You know what I mean. The thing about 40k that gets me is that the whole thing was designed as like an elaborate prank on a self-parody. And then they started to take it seriously. Like, I think it would be cool if it was a self-parody through and through. But I definitely think that a couple of people took it a little bit too seriously. Just a little. Check them out. So explain what's bad about them. I don't know what that means. You have a task list here, right? Well, sended is actually not a word as far as I know. '80s Higher Metal covers as the textbook covers. How could you go wrong? Why not? Oblivion Sadness. Somebody with that username commented on my SoundCloud. Bunch of fucking goobers. Oh, I thought you were making a joke when you said that, honestly. So you sent me new shit? Okay. I'm pulling it up now. Let's go ahead and close this. Pull this open. Say hi to my dad for me. Place files. Alright. So we have attacks once and upgrades, mineral heavy biostyle, harassment attacks for white. You need to wait 1 before start town. I mean, you don't really need it because you're not running an area town, but I would just get into the habit of doing that. I guess you don't really need to. Also, stop does fuck stuff up, we found out. I probably forgot to tell you, so maybe end this in a loop. Just to be safe, especially if you're observing odd behavior that you can't explain. I'm probably going to try out some priorities that are similar to this because mine are always around 80 and it's probably some issues there. You don't have AI control, don't build gas, so build one refinery is pointless. They're going to build it anyways. So if you wanted the build one refinery thing to work, you have to do AI control, don't build gas. Works on both 161 and remastered. Yes. No, you just need to end this main thread in a loop, as far as I understand. Yes, Pilot messed up. Map Crap is an event that I host every now and then. It used to be like every 2 weeks, but we've been waiting until we finished our campaign crap, which is a campaign version of Map Crap, before hosting the next one. What do I think about having dedicated utility aura units like Kodos? I think they should drain mana to keep the aura active. But that's also because I plan on adding some more interplay around mana. I'm going to be adding some spell. I'm probably going to borrow the energy discharge or whatever. I forget what it was called. Energy decay from Hydra's unit concept for the Savant and put it on the some spellcaster somewhere that'll be like an upgraded version of feedback, which basically makes it so that casters that they deal damage equal to the amount of energy they spend. So I don't even really know if that's possible in Warcraft 3 or how I would do that, but yeah, it's based around Map Craft, which was a contest I held with Jay Barino and Deltron Live back a while ago. I decided to make a sequel. Call it Map Crap. Searing Arrows drains mana to augment the auto attack. Energy Decay is something that is a debuff onto a caster that lasts for probably like 10 seconds or 15 seconds. Maybe closer to 5, actually. And it will... it causes the caster to do damage to itself equal to the amount of mana it spends on spells until the debuff is over. I don't have it hooked up yet, but that will be something that I want to do. And you can use that on any spellcaster, but you can also use it to make it so that aura units are reduced in efficacy. You know, they take damage over time, basically, unless the player that owns them turns it off. I was just commenting on the idea that, like, I want to make mana have a bit more interplay, a bit more interactivity in Warcraft 3, as well as Brood War. So I was thinking of ways to do that, and I definitely think that the energy decay thing is a cool mechanic. It's like a soft silence that you can cleanse. But you can still make the trade-off if you want. And maybe I'll make it so that it can't kill a unit, but it can only bring it down to 1 HP, similar to Plague. But I'm not sure. So let's take a look at Veek's script a little bit more. We have some weights here. You said attack is 50 priority. Yeah, I should probably keep that in mind. I think as long as they build these SCVs at an appropriate time, I don't see any issues with these priorities. These are very simple expansions, expansion protocols. If the using allies watch, if there's a town, I think if there's a structure between like 12 units or 11 tiles of the resource area, then you will not be able to build there as the AI. I don't know how aggressively it rebuilds its expansions as well, but might be interesting to look at that at some point. Multi-running player need is nice there. Could even do a separate player need for each base, or a number of bases, if you wanted, like if you had limited build space in a certain area. But generically, I think it's fine. Does it only take a minute to research Stimpaks? I always forget how long that takes. It's probably fine. Why do you tech defensive matrix? I'm never playing that room tech. It's not finished. I'll play when it's finished. There you go. You could get rid of the defensive matrix tech. That's the only thing I would say. If you want their science vessels to get the mana upgrade, you should have read that in as well. Define maxes are a little low. Maybe expand them over time. It's 80 seconds. Waiting a minute is still okay there, I think. It'll just mean that the marine range happens almost immediately after Stimpaks, which is maybe what you want. I usually like to set death as a variable for when attacks have been happening if I want the AI to know that it should be attacking after a certain point and then make it wait for that point, but I can see where that would be. There could be some edge cases where it just doesn't execute. It's mostly for flow control anyways. In case I want to change the timing of the attack, I then don't need to change the timing of the expansion because it already waits for the attack to finish. So it's more so an issue for if you're doing something a little bit larger scale. In general, I would probably use attack random and have a bunch of extra calls here that like randomly select between numbers of units. Maybe have a multi-run. You didn't do attack prepare. So you do attack prepare, wait 500 or 100 or whatever. You need that. I mean, attack do does the same thing, but without attack prepare, I don't think they would. I don't know. They would just be weird. But another thing you can do. I'm amazed you don't know this. Let me see. Oh, this is the wish list. Fuck. Where's my command list? So in the Necron document, attack there. Oh, attack there. Prepares the attack. Why did it jump back up? Why? Prepares the attack and attack the enemy with the current attacking party afterwards. Attack do also does the same thing, but if an attack, or if attack prepare has already been used, this command only waits. So attack prepare is used for flow control most of the time, and generally makes sure that your AI prepares the attack before commencing. I don't know what really would happen with attack 2. In theory, it wouldn't really change much, but if it's in practice giving you weird results, then I would probably make you try attack prepare and see if that resolves it. Just to eliminate variance, since that's how we've done it forever. Another thing you can do here is call or multi-run. You know, add random. And then write add random, whatever you end up calling it. And this would be, you could do it one way, you could nest it, or you could just do like attack ran 04 marine, attack ran 03 firebat, attack ran 03 medic, attack ran 01 science vessel. And this would be like return / stop, depending on if you call or multi-ran it. Otherwise, you could do random call 85, which is a 1 in 3 chance. Well, combined with this. And this would be like add random A, add random B, and then this is like attack ran 07 Marine, attack ran 02 Medic, attack ran 01 Science Vessel. Well, if you don't want RNG in the unit counts, you can at the very least change this from attack ran to like attack add 5 Marine, attack add 2 Medic, attack add 1 Science Vessel, so that the composition is changed. And then add random A would be like something else, like attack add 3 Marine, attack add 5 Fire Bat, attack add 2 Medic. And so on and so forth for however many other ones you wanted. That's what I would suggest. But for sure, you said that AI don't build gas doesn't matter for you, so if that's the case, then that's fine. I think it's everything. I would just make sure to test with attack repair if you don't do anything else. I also wouldn't really do farms timing. I would just explicitly tell them to build a certain number of supply depots. And remember that you don't need to tech defensive matrix. It's already researched. Well, I think you take care of that automatically when you limit your AI on money. If you're not planning on doing that, then you kind of have to just figure out what your pace is and what your desire is for the pace, and then work with that. Oh yeah, the other thing I was saying earlier is that the expansions could definitely serve to be a little bit more robust in terms of what conditions they check before going. So you should probably get familiar with create script and then bring jump. Yeah, I would give it a resource multiplier, but just experiment with what works. You might only need like 1.25 times or 1.5 times. I think I use 1.5 times for minerals and 1.25 for gas. Or 1.33, not sure. You mean the original Desperate Alliance? I think that making it feel like you're actually setting up an installation and having some sort of terrain deformation could definitely be really neat. But we could probably sell that with some custom doodads. That would only be pre-placed stuff though, obviously. It sounds like a priority issue, actually, but no way to know for sure. I don't mind the idea of walls, but typically, you have depots and stuff for that. If you wanted to do that, and StarCraft terrain tends to be pretty positional and like height dependent and stuff, choke dependent. So it's possible to still build walls and get value out of them even if you're not surrounding themselves. It's obviously not really the same immersive feeling as actually building a wall, but I see what you're getting at. Well, I think that'll do it here for this StarCraft section. I'm going to separate this out for the sake of the VOD viewers and for the sake of the my bladder, because I gotta use the bathroom. So I'll be back in a moment with the Warcraft 3 section of the stream. I'll try to remain centered on the camera. Slouching around like an idiot. Sorry about that. I forget that I'm on camera. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in. And if you are interested in the Warcraft 3 stuff, seeing the new game state in action and all that stuff, you can stay on around. I'll be back in like 2 to 3 minutes.